Today from Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, a game between the Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds. Sunny, warm here in Cincinnati, and a big Saturday crowd between 40 and 50,000 on hand to watch two natural rivals, the Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds. Hi, everybody. I'm Kurt Gowdy with Tony Kubek. Last year, the most competitive division in the National League and the American League was the Western Division. It was the last day of the season before that division crown was decided when the Giants beat San Diego in San Diego to edge the Dodgers by a game. And predictions for this year, Tony, were that the National League West would be the toughest division again. It is that way. However, we have better races in all divisions this year. But Cincinnati and Houston, you have been able to throw a handkerchief over those two teams right since the start of the season. Cincinnati leads Houston by a game and a half. It appeared as if the Dodgers were going to slide out of it. Now they've come back. They're 5.5 out. Three-team race here. Pittsburgh 3 up over the Mets in the East. In the American League, Baltimore by just a game over Detroit. Boston's only 4.5 games out. And Oakland is leading Chicago by 5 games in the West. But it's this Western Division that I think is going to be bear watching, maybe right down to the last week, because of the last 10 games, Houston and Cincinnati have 5 of the last 10 games against each other, and they close out the season here in Cincinnati, the last 2 games. That could decide the division.
Heard it certainly could, and of course Dodgers now in 3rd place, of course, and you've got to give the Dodgers, with all their youngsters and of course with Walter Alston, a 5-game advantage in the standings just because of Walter Alston. Houston, of course, is proving to a lot of people that they're just not also-rans. They have a good, solid infield. Metzger is a player who isn't going to hit much, but everybody's raving about his shortstop play. They're going to stay in it right till the end. San Francisco, of course, the young players are now starting to come alive. They're putting it together. They're going to cause trouble. Atlanta is always going to cause trouble in that division because they're always going to score runs, especially in Atlanta. There's also a story in the Eastern Division, especially right on this field. The opponents of the Big Red Machine, the Chicago Cubs, although they lost or they won yesterday, seemed to me a very dispirited ball club, Kurt. I know the players are all grumbling once again about Leo DeRocher. They think they should be higher up in the standings. And you look at that team against almost any other team in the National League, man for man, and the Chicago Cubs has a pretty good team, and nobody can figure out now why they have gone down to 4th place. So there's a lot of grumbling going on, and I think we're about ready to see another feud, the likes of which we saw last year when DeRocher got into it with his players.
Did the players ever stop to think they might do something about it, being higher up in the standings?
You know, I talked to also Hank Aguirre, who's a liaison between the players and the press, and of course Leo DeRocher, as we see Santo in the dugout. And Hank Aguirre said that it's not Leo's fault. Hank is saying that a lot of these players are looking for an out. They're having bad years. They're trying to blame it all DeRocher. Aguirre feels that Leo's doing a good job.
Well, we'll watch them today. They beat Cincinnati in the opening game of the series last night. In fact, they have defeated Cincinnati 5 out of 6 times this year. Here are our starting lineups now for today's game. Rick Mundy in center field leading off for the Cubs. Kessinger, Don Kessinger, the shortstop. Billy Williams batting 3rd in left field. Ron Santo hitting cleanup at 3rd base. Joe Pepitone at 1st base, batting 5th. It's like a frozen frame. Jim Hickman in right field, batting 6th. Paul Popovich playing 2nd base, batting 7th. Randy Hundley is the catcher, hitting 8th. And Rick Ruschel will be pitching and batting 9th for the Cubs. Gary Nolan, 11 wins and 2 losses with his warm-up pitches. 24 years old. He leads the National League with the lowest earned run average, 1.90. He's not allowed more than 4 runs in any of his 16 starts this year. He has a 3-game winning streak since losing 2-1 to the Mets at Cincinnati on June 16th. And Rick Mundy, batting .274, has hit 7 home runs this year, 3 of those came in one game. He had 3 homers and a single and 5 times at bat against the Phillies back in May. The first pitch of the game's a ball. Rick is the only major leaguer who's hit 3 homers in a game this season. Foul back. 1-1 to Mundy. Kessinger on deck, and then Billy Williams. Mundy's been in a slump lately, though. He's had only 1 hit in his last 24 times at bat. Pulled him on a slow pitch. He probably, well, it's hard to say he has the best one, but I'll bet he has one of the best change-ups in the business, Tony.
He does, Kurt, and he's learned how to use it, too. We were talking to Sparky about it. He said the boy has now become a pitcher. He used to be a thrower, didn't know where he threw it. Now he changes speeds well.
Johnny Bench wants the third base umpire Pelikutis to give a decision on that check swing. Pelikutis says no, it was a ball. Home plate umpire can get blocked out by the catcher, and the umpires in the field have a better look at a check swing, whether he went through or not. 2-2 count to Rick Mundy. Struck him out. 1 down.
Third of the 5 pitches that Nolan threw to Mundy, 4 of 5 were off-speed pitches.
There's a defensive lineup for the Reds. Rose at left, Tolan in center, Foster in right, Minky's at third, Concepcion at short, Morgan at second, Perez at first, Nolan and Bench the battery. Don Kessinger batting .255. No homers, 20 RBIs. Of course, you see the name of Glenn Beckert and his familiar figure missing from the Cubs lineup. He has a knee injury. Strike.
Beckert was in a collision, one of those pop-ups just beyond the infield, that he got hit high and low by Mundy and by Cardinal. Injured his rib cage and then had water or fluid form on his knee.
Just off the glove of Joe Morgan, who ranged to his right, and Kessinger's on with a base hit. Billy Williams received one of the finest compliments I've ever heard. We were in talking to Sparky Anderson before the game. And Anderson, I said, what batter do you fear most in the Cub lineup? He said, Billy Williams. I think he's the most underrated player I've ever seen in baseball. He plays every game, season after season. He is durable, and he hits with power year after year, and he's never received the publicity. I told Williams about the compliment. He said, I'd rather be underrated than underpaid.
Picture book swing. If you wanted a pattern or have your young boy in Little League pattern themselves after a hitter, here's the man you'd want, Billy Williams.
A ball and a strike to Williams, who's hitting .313, 16 homers, 46 runs batted in. Kessinger at first, 1 out. We're just underway in the first inning. High fly, center field. Bobby Tolan puts it away. That's out number 2. Kessinger holds at first base. Ron Santo batting .295 with 10 homers, 34 runs batted in. Is the next man up for the Chicago Cubs.
Cubs have had a rather dismal road trip, and they've won, Kurt, just 5 of their last 18 ball games, and most of it has been because they have not been hitting. Santo has tapered off, and Billy Williams has been about the only man in the club who has been hitting consistently.
Santo's played a lot of games for the Cubs. Last night he played his 1,900th game in a Cub uniform. He's 6th on the all-time list of Cub players. Bounds it to third base to Dennis Minky. The flip over to Morgan for the force on Kessinger. And the Cubs are out on the first with no runs to hit, 1 man left. And now we'll watch the Reds come to bat in the last of the first inning. Here's the lineup now for the Reds. Joe Morgan leading off at second. Pete Rose in left field. Hitting third, Bobby Tolan in center field. Johnny Bench, the cleanup man, catching. Tony Perez at first base, batting 5th. The right fielder hitting 6th will be George Foster. Dennis Menke at third, batting 7th. Dave Concepcion, the shortstop, batting 8th. And Gary Nolan, the pitcher, hitting and batting 9th. Ricky Eugene Ruschel, a rookie. Rookie Ricky is in with a strike. to Joe Morgan, batting .270. And the little guy has hammered out 10 homers, surprisingly, and 30 runs batted in. A ball. Ruschel has the size that scouts look for in a young pitcher. 6'4", 235 pounds. Comes into this game with a 15-inning scoreless streak. Foul back by Morgan. A ball and 2 strikes. He's pitched only 30 games in the minor leagues. He started this season at Wichita in the American Association. He won 9 and lost 2. He was so impressive that the Cubs brought him up and immediately have made him into a starting pitcher. There's a foul ball down the left field line.
Kurt, you always talk about pitchers and players, modern-day players, and who they reminded you of. And I was looking at Ruschel for just the first time. He looks a lot, in breath especially, like Mike Garcia. The Bear.
I wonder if he throws that heavy ball.
They say he does.
What the batters used to call a heavy ball. Foul back. They mean, I think, by a heavy ball is like hitting a shot put. I mean, you hit the ball, it just doesn't go very far.
Hit against Garcia at the end of his career when he was with Cleveland, my first few years with the Yankees. And you hit a ball in the good part of the bat, it would go clunk and go absolutely nowhere. You'd almost tear the bat right out of your hand. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Joe Morgan. Outside. I was broadcasting in the minor leagues at Oklahoma City when Garcia pitched for our Oklahoma City ball club there. He's probably still living out in Visalia, California. With his home. Back to the box to Ruschel. 1 away. Joe Morgan bounces out. Pete Rose, a hometown boy, coming up, batting .284 with 1 homer, 22 runs batted in. Rose has gone the gamut with a hair. Here's the defense in the Cubs. Williams in left, Mundy in center, Hickman in right, Ursano at third, Kessinger at short, Popovich at second, Pepitone at first, Ruschel pitching and Hundley catching. Curve is inside for a ball. Rose used to have the crew cut. Now look at the hair. He's gone mod, man, mod. Ball 2. He's getting hot now. He's hit safely in 18 of his last 19 games. Fastball for a strike. Wind him up, and it's usually a 300 season when it starts. Just turn the handle, and away he goes. 1 out, no score. Last of the first inning. Off the end of the bat foul. Skipping by the third base coach, Alex Grammas. 2-2. We have a big crowd today. You see those empty seats, they're just above the outfield fence. This is the seats they sell. They don't sell those seats out there. Those are football seats that are not used for the baseball time in the stadium. There's a ground ball in the left field, a base hit for Pete Rose. So Rose keeps it going. Bobby Tolan. What a comeback he's made. Anytime you tear an Achilles tendon, there's danger you won't play sports again. I think 2 dramatic recoveries from the Achilles tendon. This fellow right here, Tolan, was running with abandon again, his old speed. And the other, of course, maybe even more remarkable, 38-year-old Johnny Unitas. Rose on first, 1 out. The ball. In fact, Tolan said, I know what it is. He tried to come back last year and couldn't do it, and he said, and I'm a young man, and Unitas coming back in football with that pass rush against you, he said, that was something the way he came back. Ruschel keeping Rose close. There's a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Look at the first 3 men in this Cincinnati lineup, and I don't know, Kurt, and I don't think there's any other team in baseball that can put 3 men up that have as good eyes or as good a hitters and run as well as Morgan, Rose, and Toland.
You're right. It's an impressive front three. They can get in there and set up the table for Bench and Perez. 1-1 pitch. Tries to butt, foul ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Bob Toland.
What pressure 3 men like that put on a defense, especially in the infield at short at second base. They're hit-and-run threats. They're base-stealing threats. You don't know who's going to cover. You've got to be moving around, leaving your position. A lot of pressure. You've got to play a little more shallow balls, especially on the artificial surface, can scoot on by you.
In other words, their ability leaves holes for them in the defense.
Oh, tremendous. They'll fake a bunt, or they'll bunt down the line. You come in, and they'll slap it by you at third base.
A ball and 2 strikes to Bobby Toland. Just got a piece of that one. Bounced out of the glove of Randy Hundley. Ruschel made his first start after pitching twice in relief. Went all the way to beat the Phillies 11-1. Against Pittsburgh, he was leading and had to leave the game when he sprained his ankle and had spasms in the back. There goes Rose. The throw down. He's safe at second base. That's 4 out of 5 stolen bases for Rose this year.
Here's Pete again getting a good job. You saw the glance over his shoulder in the event that the hitter had hit the ball. Watch Pete glance to his left. So he's watching the hitter. If Toland had hit the ball, he would know exactly where the ball is. He saw that the ball went through. Hundley made the throw, not in time.
The Reds lead the National League in stolen bases with 72. Last year, they stole only 59 all year. We have a 2-2 count to Bob Toland. Rose on second, 1 out, and no score. Three and 2 count. Johnny Bench on deck. Three and 2. This youngster appears to have a live fastball.
He's had the Cincinnati Reds swinging late. He had Morgan foul off a couple pitches down the third baseline to the opposite field. The ball was almost by him. He had Rose do about the same, and then Rose finally got a hit to left. Nice, a good fastball.
Nice, easy delivery, too. That one's hit foul, a curveball. He says he throws a curve. His fastball is a sinker. And in his repertoire, he has a slider and a straight changeup, but he doesn't use it too much. 3 and 2 to Bob Toland. 1 out, Pete Rose at second. It's difficult. We'll try and get a high shot. They don't have the skin part of the infield here in this artificial turf. Looks like the infielders are playing deeper than they are. They appear to be in the outfield, although they are not. He committed himself on a bad pitch for strike 3. 2 down. Johnny Bench coming up. Johnny has 21 homers. He's 1 ahead of Dave Kingman for the Major League lead. And he has 61 RBIs. The closest to him in RBIs in the Major League, Richie Allen of the White Sox with 55. He's already won the most valuable award 1 year, and he could win it again this year. Twice in his early 20s. I don't think that's ever been done before. He still has to do it this year, though. 2 down. Rose at second. A breaking pitch for a strike. Dad and Mom are here today. He bought him a home in the outskirts of Cincinnati. They're living here now. He was reared in Binger, Oklahoma. Paul, I mentioned about broadcasting 4 years in Oklahoma City, and I can tell you that state has really turned out some great Major League ball players. The Wainers, Mickey Mantle, Allie Reynolds.
Bobby Mercer.
That's right. Strike two. I'm going to leave some out probably. Pepper Martin. Carl Hubble. Great ones from the state of Oklahoma have gone into Major League Baseball. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Bench. There's a line shot into right field for a base hit. Pete Rose, rounding third, comes in to score. And Johnny Bench has his 62nd run batted in.
What you just saw Bench do, and Sparky Anderson tells us that is what has made him a solid hitter once again. He's going a little bit more to the opposite field. They thought he was trying to pull the ball a little too much. And the home runs are coming, and he's getting the pitch away, and he's going that way.
Well, Ruschel had a scoreless string of 15 2/3 innings until Bench's single. Here's Tony Perez. Bad pitch. Perez hitting .294, 13 homers, 49 RBIs. A much better year than he had last season. And that's quite a back-to-back punch in this lineup. Bench and Perez. With the 3 pests, Morgan, Rose, and Tolan ahead of them. Again, he went fishing. 0-2.
Perez has been completely fooled on the last 2 pitches. Looked like fast-breaking sliders. Looking for the fastball.
Reds leading 1-0 last of the first inning. A 2-strike count to Tony Perez. Born in Camagüey, Cuba. Lives now in Puerto Rico. Struck him out on an outside pitch. Perez going for bad pitches. 1 run for the Reds. 2 hits, no errors, 1 left. Into the first inning, 1-0 Cincinnati. Joe Pepitone leading off for the Cubs in the second. He'll be followed by Hickman and Popovich. Pepitone got his first homer of the season last night. Fouls a slow curve off. Pepitone batting .167. I think the best description we can use now of Gary Nolan, I remember when he first came up, he had that big rookie season, a fastball pitcher then. He is now a finished pitcher.
He learned how to finesse these hitters, Kurt. General Manager Bob Hausum of these Reds was saying he has good control, and his fastball looks better now with those changeups.
1 ball, 1 strike. After that brilliant rookie season in '67, he had arm trouble in '68 and '69. Spent a brief period each year in the minors. And he came back last year and this year. Pepitone lays the bat on it and slaps it to left field. So he's on. Didn't like baseball. Now he likes it again.
He missed the money a little bit, I think. You know, yesterday, Kurt, even though the Cubs won, they've been made the kind of mistakes that have been hurting them throughout this road trip. Just complete lack of fundamentals. Pepitone yesterday forgot to tag up on a ball hit to the outfield. Rick Monday on first base did the same thing. It didn't cost him the ball game, but it could have.
There's a strike to Jim Hickman. Silent Jim batting .287 with 8 homers, 32 RBIs. Now those are the alert heads-up plays that can win you a pennant in a close race. Bench in front of it, as a good catcher should be. 1 ball, 1 strike to Jim Hickman.
That was a tough pitch to block for Johnny Bench. You may have seen Bill Freehan in one of our mini clinics earlier in the year demonstrate the proper technique. Get down on those knees. Don't reach for the ball when it's bouncing out in front of you. Keep the ball out in front of you so that base runner cannot advance.
Hit to third, maybe a double play ball. Menke for 1, Morgan's pivot. They got it.
And they say that Joe Morgan this year, Kurt, is making the pivot better than he ever has before. Sparky Anderson was a minor league infielder, has done a lot of work with Morgan around the bag. He's really improved.
Paul Popovich filling in for the injured Glenn Beckert is batting 190 with no homers, 4 RBI. There's a drive in the gap in left center. Just out of the reach of the diving Rose, gets away from Bobby Tolan. Popovich is coming to third. And they're going to, well, where did the ball fumble there momentarily? Thought they might try and send him home. But Joe Morgan went over to back up Concepcion, the shortstop, when the ball got away, the relay got away from Concepcion.
There goes Pete diving, the ball bounding off the artificial surface over Tolan's head. Let's see if we get a chance to see on this relay some very alert play by Joe Morgan. Anytime a ball's at the left center, usually your shortstop will go out for the relay. Now Tolan makes a low throw. It gets by Concepcion, but Morgan was backing him up very alertly.
They have given Popovich a triple. And you just saw an example of how the outfielders have to be very careful. They're going to walk Hundley and pitch to the rookie pitcher, Ruschel. The outfielders now in these artificial surfaces have to guard against the high bounce in the outfield. In other words, they have to be sure the ball doesn't bounce over their heads. They can never do that on grass, but it can on the artificial surface.
Kurt, this artificial surface has changed a lot of people's ways of thinking. You always look for speed in an outfielder, but before they would go along with a man just because of his power, if he could hit, even if he didn't have speed. Now these scouts are scouting for more speed because the ball gets to them so much more quickly.
The Cubs have runners on first and third. They're 2 down. We're waiting for Ruschel to come up. We don't know what kind of a hitter he is. Must not be too bad. He's had a double and a single, and he's 8 times a bat in the National League. It's a high foul and back of the plate. Johnny Bench waiting. That's it. No runs for the Cubs. 2 hits. There were no errors and 2 left. At the end of an inning and a half, it's Cincinnati 1 and Chicago nothing. Many times we talk about players' records, team records. I think there's a major league record set here today. The largest group, one group to ever come to a ball game. 24,000 employees of General Electric here today as a group attending a Cincinnati Reds game. 24,000 in one group. We had 40,000 and some here at the game last night. It should be close to 50,000 today. George Foster, the batter, facing Rick Ruschel. Threw him a breaking pitch for a strike. Rick was born in Quincy, Illinois. He lives in Camp Point, Illinois. And his older brother, Paul, is a pitcher in the Cubs organization. Paul. So the young brothers beat the older brother to the big league. He has 6 brothers and a sister. Rick says, in that Ruschel family. Hey, that's a good overhand curve, Tony. That thing just came in and dropped off like it was a crooked table.
He starts getting that over the plate along with that fastball that's riding into these right-handed hitters. He's going to be real tough this game.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Outside with it, 2-2. He has struck out 6 men every 9 innings so far in his limited action in the National League. Strikes out. That's his 3rd strikeout as he gets Foster. 1 down for Cincinnati, and Dennis Menke batting .241 with 4 homers, 18 RBIs. Menke has become a motorbike addict. In fact, he's going to have a motorbike franchise. And he and his family, that's what they do in the off-season, do a lot of motorcycle riding together. A strike to Menke. Flash, oh, a great stop by Sano at third and over to first for the out. Good play, Ron.
One of the fine defensive players in baseball in the National League. Santo hasn't lost a step, even in the mid-30s. Ranged far to his left, especially on this artificial surface, Kurt. The ball looked like it was by him, and he just picked it like a cherry off the tree.
Thank you, George. Dave Concepcion batting 200. 1 homer, 20 RBIs. The strike. Concepcion asked me today, his game on Venezuela today. I said, I think so. Bunt is foul. They said, me get hit today. Base hit. And Rose said, what are you worrying about national television for? You get a few more hits during the season. He was kidding him. 2 strikes to Concepcion with 2 down, nobody on, and the Reds leading 1-0. There's a fly out to right fielder Jim Hickman. An easy chance. 1, 2, 3. The Reds go down at the end of 2 innings. The score is Cincinnati 1, Chicago 0.
Kurt, this week a national magazine featured the picture of Johnny Bench on its cover. And in the catcher's mitt it said, the best catcher in baseball. We asked Johnny Bench about another pretty good catcher in this league, the National League, and his impressions, and let's listen about Manny Sanguillen.
Tony, I think Manny right now is probably as good a catcher as there is in the league. He has all the qualities to be a good catcher. He's strong, he's fast, he's quick, he's got a good arm, and of course that bat has really come around. I think playing over in Pittsburgh with Clemente and some of the other fine hitters has really helped him, but he works hard at it. I saw him in the minor leagues when he just started to catch, and he's made a lot of great strides. He's going to be a fine ball player for a long time because he's durable and he stays away from injuries. And I rate him right up there among with myself because I feel that I'm a good catcher too.
Bench really believes that. He believes that he's a great ball player. He knows he's a good catcher. And I think any athlete, you don't like utter conceit or an egocentric, but I think a ball player in any sport's got to have confidence, Tony.
Got to have a lot of confidence, and Bench's borders a little bit on cockiness. There were some that said last year he got a little bit cocky. The glamour got to him. Well, he has shown he's had a lot of pride in his work and his reputation as a catcher this year by coming back.
Gary Nolan facing Rick Mundy at the top of the Cub batting order in the first pitch of the ball. Mundy struck out his first time. And a bunt his way on. Nolan's there and gets him by 2 strikes. 1 down.
Not a very good bunt, Kurt, and yet with that great speed that Mundy has, he still came close to beating it out.
Ever notice when players get in slumps the way Mundy is, how they try and bunt their way out?
One of Mickey Mantle's great tools for getting out of slump. Mickey was one of the best I ever saw from the left side at drag bunting. He'd do it with 2 strikes and very seldom failed.
1 out, nobody on for the Cubs in the top of the 3rd. Kessinger, the batter, had an infield hit his first time, hitting .258. A strike. Getting back to Bench, I was talking to him about, this story told about how confident Johnny, they call him around Cincinnati, but he said, why be phony? Fastball, strike 2. He said, I would be phony to say that I didn't think I was a good catcher. I'm going to be honest.
Now, there are old-time catchers who have seen him, if not in person, over national television. Men like Bill Dickey feel he's one of the best of all time. Yogi Berra, a great catcher in his day, feels Bench is as good as anybody right now.
The bare hand stab by Nolan. 2 down. Billy Williams flied out his first time, batting .312. 2 down, 3rd inning. The Reds are leading the Cubs 1-0. whether Harry Coyle can get us a high shot. I'd like to take a look at the right side of the infield of the artificial surface without the skin part. Isn't it difficult to gauge where the infielders are playing? There's a high fly on the left, galloping over is Rose. And the Cubs are down 1-2-3. So before Gary Nolan leads off in the last of the third for Cincinnati, the score 1-0 the Reds. Gary Nolan receiving a warm round of applause as he comes up to lead off for the Reds in the last of the third. The coaches for Cincinnati, George Sugar at first, Alex Grammas at third. Gary Nolan, a lifetime batting average of 140. Ruschel's pitch is a strike. A foul ball. Kurt Gowdy and Tony Kubek again in Riverfront Stadium, Cincinnati. We have a 2-strike count to Nolan. Joe Morgan will be on deck. In the dugout to follow, Pete Rose. Playing Nolan to the opposite field. And for a good reason. Pepitone's up. One away for the Reds in the last of the third. Joe Morgan. Bounced out his first time. Hitting .269.
Keep making comments like that about the opposite field hitters, and we're going to start having you set the defense for Leo. Say he's a right field hitter, and what does he do? He hits to the opposite side.
Yeah. I think they can get a little better people. Strike. 0-1.
Well, the idiosyncrasy that Morgan has, let's take a look at it as he gets ready. Look at that left elbow. Kind of flaps it, tries to keep it away from his body. Feels he's freer with the bat than having it tied up close to his left side.
There's a soft liner in the center for a base hit. Now we may have a chance to watch Morgan go. He's the leading base stealer in the major leagues. 32 stolen bases in 40 attempts. And they're already yelling, go, go.
Let's take a look, too, and see if Morgan takes off on the first pitch as Hundley goes out to warn his pitcher, Ruschel, that he is a good base-stealing threat. He wants to see what kind of move he's got over. These good base stealers will take a few different kinds of leads. They'll take kind of a daring lead that is a lead that will dare the pitcher to throw over so they can see his move. Take a walking lead to try and get that momentum going to second base. Then they'll take one where they'll just stand flat-footed to get that quick break.
Rose singled to left his first time. One out. Morgan on first. Cincinnati ahead 1-0 in the last of the third.
Well, a long lead he had there, Kurt, just trying to see the footwork and the shoulder movement of that pitcher, Ruschel.
Now, Ruschel fired that ball. You know, a pitcher can have a change-up on a move to first base, too. He'll lob one time. He'll try and decoy that runner. The next time, fire over there. He can change up in his deliveries to first. There he goes. The throw. Safe. 33 points.
Hey, let's listen again as we see it to the voice of Joe Morgan talking about stealing.
Well, Tony, I'm thinking about getting as big a lead as possible because you can get thrown out at second base by half a step just like you can running from first to home to first. So I think about getting as big a lead as possible and figuring out this pitcher's move. And his first movement toward the plate is when I try to make my dash toward second.
Thank you, Joe. He's at second base, one out. Rose looks at an outside pitch. 2-0 to Rose.
Had a chance there to almost look right into the mind of Joe Morgan and what he was thinking. He was stealing that base.
3-0. Joe Morgan at second, 1 out. 3-0 to Pete Rose. Rose is on, and his usual run to first. On a walk. So Bobby Tolan comes in. He struck out his first time. 1 away. The Reds have runners on first and second.
We had a chance right then to see what speed on the base pass and how it can be used by some of these smart runners to intimidate a pitcher the way Wills did in his great base stealing days. Ruschel obviously worried about Morgan at second base, not watching the target at home plate.
Oh, well, I've got to believe a young pitcher now, a rookie there, is worried and being bothered by Joe Morgan, who stole on him and now is dancing around off second. He's got more to think about than just a batter.
See these infielders, too. You'll see Kessinger moving back and forth at times, trying to scare the runner back. It vacates his position just a little bit.
Ruschel inside, ball 2. You've been reading in the and listening over radio and TV about the Olympic trials for our United States Olympic team. Bobby Tolan was a cousin of the late Eddie Tolan, a gold medal winner in the 100 and 200 meter dashes in the 1932 Olympics. Strike 1 to Bobby Tolan, 2-1. One away, runners on first and second. Deep center. Morgan will tag on this one. Mundy puts it away. Here comes Morgan on the third. Holding at first is Rose. Tolan flying to deep center. 2 out. And Johnny Bench had a chance to pad his RBI lead. He lined a single to right field in the first inning, a drive and a run. And now he's up with 2 down, runners on first and third. They want Johnny to hit another one.
So, Kurt, if you look at Bench as far as what he's doing physically, now he's got himself straightened out mentally and has that confidence back that he did the first year or so here. But it looks like he's crouching with the upper part of his body a little bit more. He's hitting the right field more, and he's got that head staying in a little bit longer. He's really got the head in there, keeping his eye on the ball till the last.
Curve to him for a strike. I told Bench today, last year's poor season may be the best thing that ever happened to him. He found out that the game isn't that easy. He said, yeah, I think you're right. I've got to learn to concentrate every year. The ball, he said, I didn't concentrate last year all season. You think you've got it made up here, and suddenly you found out that the other fella is doing something too. And it's not that easy, no matter how much natural ability you have. 1 ball, 1 strike. There goes the runner at first. They bluff the throw down, and Pete Rose goes into second. Third stolen base this game for the Reds, the second for Rose. Now they have runners on second and third, 1 out. And a 2-1 count to Johnny Bench. Three and 1 to Bench.
The obvious strategy of the Cubs so far in the 2 appearances to Bench seems to be to pitch him away. There's Morgan on third, Rose on second.
Now they go ahead and give Bench an intentional walk to load the bases. With 2 down, Tony Perez will be up. Perez went for bad pitches his first time up. Now let's see what he does this time. Will he make Ruschel come in the strike zone? Bases loaded, 2 away. Cincinnati leading 1-0.
See Ruschel stepping off. Morgan is giving him a fit on third base. He's just walking off. He's got a lead that is just outstanding, and Ruschel now is pitching from the stretch.
There's a line drive out to center fielder Mundy. He has it. Bench hit the ball hard. but at the center fielder. No run. 1 hit, no errors, 3 men left. At the end of 3, it's Cincinnati 1, Chicago nothing.
This is Reggie Smith. When you play ball, you play your best and you play to win. If you're high on pot, acid, or speed, you can't concentrate on whether the pitch is high or low, straight or a curve, fast or off speed. You're bound to strike out at the ballpark, at home, and at school. You may think you're a winner, but you're not if you let anybody talk you into trying things. Stay on a winning team with a healthy body and a healthy mind.
Ron Santo leading off for the Cubs in the 4th. Hits a drive in the deep left center. Tolan going over. He has it. 1 away. Gary Nolan, watch his left leg now. How high it goes. A drive forward with his left leg, and he drives his right arm down. He throws every pitch in the same way. With the left leg kick and the right arm coming through, he's had that rhythm all year. And that's why his changeup's so effective, because the changeup is thrown with the same leg drive and arm drive as his fastball. So it deceives the batter. Pepitone with 1 ball, no strikes. There's a pitch on the inside corner to him for a strike, 1-1. Pepitone single to left his first time.
Kurt, you see some pitchers who do not have an effective change their motion, as you said. They'll wind up quicker, do a lot of things that might tip it off, and the good hitters, the smart hitters who sit on the sidelines and study a pitcher will pick this up.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Pepitone. The Reds are ahead 1-0 in the 4th inning. NBC's game of the week. 2-2. Gary Nolan, born in Hurlong, California, lives now in Cincinnati. Outstanding American Legion pitcher in that great program we've had in this country for years and years, sponsored by the American Legion, the junior program. We're still going strong, and we should all back American Legion posts in towns and cities around America. Watch that leg kick now. Here he comes, right through. 3-2.
Seems to balance or get poised on that right leg as he kicks the left leg, and that knee as high as you pointed out, Kurt. And he also pushes off very well, real hard off the right foot, giving that momentum going toward the hitter.
Pepitone lifts the high fly to right. George Foster waiting for it. They're 2 down. Jim Hickman wrapped into a double play his first time. 1-0. Cincinnati leading Chicago in the 4th. Well, that's a pretty good ratio, 1 homer in every 17 times. Strike. I think Ruth had 1 out of 13, 1 out of 14, something like that. The legendary Babe. No, 1 out of 11, Alan tells me. That's a real way to tell a ball player's home run ability is how many home runs did he have per times at bat, because some players played longer than others. They had more chances.
I think Killebrew is second to Ruth in that department.
Harmon had 1 home run, or has had 1 home run every 13 times up in his career. Babe Ruth 1 out of 11. 2 balls and a strike to Hickman. There's a drive to deep left. That one is gone, just cleared the wall. And we have a tie game here at Cincinnati. Home run number 9 for Hickman. RBI 33. A lot of Cub fans are down here from Chicago and back to the Cub dugout. They're on their feet right now. They have large groups that follow them around the National League. Nolan's
changeup had been very effective, Kurt, and then he tried to sneak a fastball by Hickman, but he couldn't sneak it past a good fastball hitter.
Comes back with a slow curve to Popovich, who tripled his first time. Our game now is tied 1-1 in the fourth. Little roller down the first base line, foul. Strike 2 to Popovich.
So, Kurt, speaking of that Ruth record, everyone knows, of course, that it's really just a fantastic record. When you figure that Ruth spent the first 5 years of his big league career as a pitcher, makes it even more astonishing.
Yes, and the record is really in danger of being broken. The 714 lifetime home runs, the way Henry Aaron is going. Closing in. Joe Morgan scoops it up. Popovich is out, so are the Cubs, but they tied the ball game with 1 run, a hit, a home run by Hickman. No errors, nobody left. At the end of 3.5, Chicago won, Cincinnati won. George Foster leading off. There's a base hit to center by Foster. Each team has had 4 hits. The night games in the National League, Houston and St. Louis. Bob Gibson won his 8th in a row last night after losing his first 5. And the Cardinals have won 15 of their last 17. Pittsburgh's at Atlanta, the Giants at Montreal, San Diego at Philadelphia. Dennis Menke grounded to third in his initial trip. Foster at first, nobody out. There he goes. And here's the throw by Hundley, and he's safe. That's 4 stolen bases for the Reds. And Hundley, you know, is no mediocre catcher with the arm.
Hundley had a rough streak. Of course, he has the bad knees. Let's watch Foster again peering over his left shoulder. An excellent jump on Ruschel. He didn't steal it off Hundley. He stole it off the pitcher.
Foster's at second, nobody out. We have a 1-strike count to Dennis Menke. One and one. Updating the American League, Cleveland leading Kansas City 2-1 at the end of 6. The White Sox over the Tigers 3-0 at the end of 2.5. New York at Minnesota, Milwaukee at Oakland, not started yet. The other 2 games at night. Foul ball, trying to move Foster to third. Put him over there with 1 down.
Something a hitter will do on his own. Menke, pretty much of a pull hitter, doesn't hit well to right field, to the opposite field, and he wants to get the runner over, so he took it upon himself to try and push the ball to get the runner Foster into third base with less than 2 outs.
The game of the week is tied 1-1 in the last of the fourth. Count is 2-2 to Dennis Menke. Struck him out on a bad pitch. 4 strikeouts for Ruschel. Dave Concepcion has fly to right his first time, hitting .199. When he does hit the ball, his power is to right center. He likes that high outside pitch or a high pitch over the plate, and he'll drive it deep to right center. So he hits it to third. Sano up over to first or 2 down.
Oh, you went for 2 in positioning your defense.
No, that wasn't his power.
Changed up on him.
That wasn't his power play. 2 down, Foster at second. Gary Nolan coming up.
Let's watch Santo again, playing even with the bag. He looks his runner back, Foster at second base. Keeps him there. Plenty of time as he was playing in to get Concepcion at first base.
Gary Nolan grounded out his first time. A strike to him. 1 run, 4 hits for the Cubs. 1 run, 4 hits for the Reds in the last of the fourth. Strike 2. They've been going for a lot of bad pitches on this kid.
Kurt, apparently his fastball is sailing away. It comes in looking like a fastball, and the ball will sail away from the right-handed hitters right at the last. Actually swinging a pitch a foot outside the strike zone.
Nearly had him. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Gary Nolan. That's Foster at second, 2 down. One and 2 still to Nolan. You know, Kubek is still fuming. President Nixon left him off his all-time team. So Kubek decided to get his own all-star team. 1 ball, 2 strikes. There's a base hit. Here comes Foster rounding third. Gary Nolan backs his team into the lead with a single to drive in George Foster. 2-1 Cincinnati.
Kurt, that team you're talking about is not only my team. Ted Kluszewski and I sat down and put it together.
I'm just going to tell the folks that Kubek, you know, got around the batting cage today. He was griping about Nixon leaving him off his team. So he and Ted Kluszewski, both of whose heritage are Polish, decided to come up with the all-time all-star Polish team. And I'm going to tell you, it's quite a formidable team. I think they're going to issue a challenge. There's a bunt. Boy, this is a good bunt. The throw to second, not in time. Joe Morgan lays a perfect bunt down. Russo nearly got Nolan going into second.
Knew he didn't have any chance for Morgan with that good speed. He decided to try for the pitcher. Does not run as fast, but he just couldn't get anybody. Perfectly laid down bunt by Joe.
Give Morgan a hit. Runners on first and second, 2 down. Pete Rose, but this all-star Polish team of Kubek and Kluszewski's may issue a challenge to the living all-star team of President Nixon.
We get a chance to run down some of these players that Klu and I selected for our team.
Now let's hold it now. We want to build this up. 2 down, runners on first and second. Pete Rose has singled and walked, has stolen 2 bases. There's a strike. And let's see, we're going to get some action now. Out on that Cub bullpen.
Tom Phoebus starting to warm up.
To the box, hit high. Ruschel stabs it, throws him out to end the inning. 1 run for Cincinnati, 3 hits. No Cub errors. The Reds left 2 at the end of 4. It's Cincinnati 2, Chicago 1.
If a boy wakes up with a smiling face, he's been dreaming about Raisin Land. And there's 2 scoops of raisins in a package of Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
And that's not all. Now in with all those juicy raisins and good-tasting brand cereal, there's a 3D baseball card with a colorful 3D picture of a famous ball player, autographed and with his records. 3D baseball cards, 1 free inside specially marked packages of Kellogg's Raisin Bran cereal.
There's a strike to Randy Hundley, who walked his first time. There's a drive into the left field corner by Hundley, who goes into second on that bad knee and has a stand-up double to lead off the 5th inning.
Now with Ruschel coming up, Pete Reiser calls the youngster down to third base to have a little conference. So what he wants him to do, get the sign straightened out. Remember that this artificial surface becomes very difficult to bunt because the ball gets to these infields very quickly. And with Conception speed at shortstop and Hundley with a bad knee, we could see a trick play and have him go to third.
That's a foul ball. Foul tip for strike 1 to Ruschel. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dennis Menke shortened up at third. Perez ready to charge from first. They have him swinging away, and it's 1 ball, 2 strikes to Rick Ruschel. There's all kinds of confusion going around the ball field today. Somebody from Chicago said Ruschel wants to be called Rochelle, his father and mother like. Then Ruschel sent word, no, call me Ruschel. He's out on a curveball. 1 down. Hundley at second. Top of the order now, and Rick Mundy trying to battle his way out of a deep slump. Has struck out, bounced to the pitcher. He's hitting .272. The Cubs have not lost a game to Cincinnati here this year. They've won 3 at Riverfront Stadium. But right now the Reds are leading 2-1 in the top of the 5th inning. 1-0 to Mundy. Foul back. 1 ball, 1 strike. Curve away from him. 2-1 to Rick Mundy with 1 out. Randy Hundley at second. Number 9 with his back to you. Foul out of play.
Well, Kurt, when the leadoff hitter used to be the type of man that they look for, as we look at Hundley at second base, who was short in stature because they figured that was the kind of man could get more bases on balls, whether it was a Rizzuto or a Pee Wee Reese, Joe Morgan for Cincinnati. But Mundy's about 6'3", and yet he's still got 46 bases on balls.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Hard ground ball to Joe Morgan. 2 down. Hundley moves to third. And that puts it up to Don Kessinger for the Cubs, who has an infield hit, and he's bounced to the pitcher. 1 out of 2. Two runs and 6 hits for the Reds. 1 run, 5 hits for the Cubs. One strike to Kessinger. Gary Nolan has walked 1, struck out 2. Pitches differently now. He doesn't overpower the hitter. Moves the ball around, changes speeds. Base hit to tie the ball game, and the score is Hundley. Those Cub fans waving their pennants again in back of the Cub dugout. 2-2. Billy Williams has flied to center and flied to left. 2 away, Kessinger at first. And he went for a high outside pitch and pops it up in the left field. 1 run for Chicago. 2 hits, no errors, 1 left at the halfway mark. We have a tie game, 2-2. Bobby Tolan, the leadoff batter for the Reds in the last of the 5th. Jumping back, but the pitch caught the corner to him. Tolan struck out, flied out. 0 for 2. Shows you what he was before that Achilles tendon injury. 1-1. He might steal 50 this year, Tony. He could.
See how these Cubs respect his speed. Santo at third and Pepitone at first, playing about even with the bag, looking for the bunt.
2 balls, 1 strike.
Tolan with a little bit of an unusual stance. He stands almost straight up, completely erect, and holds his bat very high, but watch him drop it as the pitch goes on its way.
Ruschel in to make it 2-2. Bench is on deck. In the hole is Tony Perez. They jammed him and he fouled it off. 2-2.
Talk about a hitter having a hitch in his swing. Well, even the good hitters have these hitches, things that get them ready. Bobby Tolan, as you see, holds the bat high and then drops it down low. That hitch isn't a bad thing as long as you do it and get set before the ball gets too far in on you.
Another jam pitch. Popped it up. Sano backing up, gives way to Kessinger. 1 down, the shortstop making the put out. Sparky Anderson watching his club in another tight one with the Reds, or with the Cubs. He is 38 years old. He is right now the youngest manager in the majors, aside, I think, Frank Quillisi will be younger, who's just the new manager of the Minnesota Twins. Strike. We wish Quillisi all the luck in the world. You're always glad to see a fella get a break. You know that he must covet. But also, I'm sad about Bill Rigney being released.
What a gentleman.
Said it. A 1-strike pitch. Inside a ball.
It's the first pitch that they've thrown inside the bench. This is third at bat, and that one was wasted way inside. Hundley has been setting up outside on the outside corner of the plate almost every time. Now he decoys inside, goes away again.
That's right over to him. A ball and 2 strikes to John Bench. Ruschel, the rookie, has walked 2, struck out 4. He and Nolan are hooked up in a 2-2 tie in the last of the 5th. Leo DeRocher. Out of the way, Alex. There he is.
Mr. Cub next to him, Ernie Bank.
23rd year as a major league manager, Leo DeRocher. For the Dodgers, the Giants, the Cubs.
Leo, of course, reached his 65th birthday, I believe it was last year, and to show you the attractiveness of baseball's pension plan, aside from the salary, which must exceed $50,000, and I'm guessing his pension exceeds $22,000 or $23,000 a year just from the baseball pension plan.
He's drawing that now, isn't he?
Yes.
2-2 pitch. Bench held up. 3-2 to Bench.
And they are not giving Johnny anything inside whatsoever so far in the ball game.
So Bench is on. 3rd time in a row he's reached. That's the 3rd walk given up by Ruschel. Tony Perez has struck out, lined out, and Tony, his wife Juana, and their 2 children, Victory and Eduardo, became United States citizens last October, he told me. This is a fine man right here. Very pleasant gentleman.
Latin American ball players just exude loving the game of baseball. Sanguine is another. They just love to play it.
Ball 1.
They grow up with it. Play it all year long.
You know, I've never been to the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico. I used to go down and fish in Cuba at the Isle of Pines, about a 30-minute flight south of Havana. Spent some time in Havana before Castro moved in. I saw how popular the game was in Cuba. But I understand in Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, it's the game. The youngsters grow up with it. They play day after day because of the great weather. Ball two. How many Major League ball players do you suppose there are in Cuba right now? You know, who haven't been allowed to come to this country. I bet there's 20 or 30 kids over there come over here and play in the big league.
Now, we spoke with Tony Oliva, Cuban himself, a couple of weeks ago in Minnesota, and he said that at least 25 or 30 who are potentially Major League players. And what a great advantage they have, Kurt, because some of these youngsters are playing baseball against AAA or Major League competition in winter leagues when they're 14, 15 years old. A lot of the Americans go down there, and of course a lot of the natives play winter baseball.
Beavis is going to start warming up again. There's a bounding ball to short. Over to second for one. The relay by Popovich, and they wipe him out in the last of the fifth inning on the double play. No runs, no hits, there were no errors, and nobody left. 5 innings gone. And the score is tied 2-2. President Nixon, who said he liked to be a sports writer if he wasn't in politics, picked his all-star all-time team. I received a lot of publicity around it. Of course, I know the president's a real ball fan. I used to see him when I was doing a Red Sox game. He'd be out there in the Washington ballpark with only 2,000 or 3,000 people. But Kubek is still burning because the president didn't put him on the team. So he and Ted Kluszewski got together today and picked an all-star Polish team of all-time players to battle President Nixon's living all-star team. And let's have your all-star Polish team is picked by you and Ted Kluszewski, Tony.
All right, first of all, I've got to say, Kurt, that Big Clue and I didn't hedge at all. The president picked 4 teams, pre-war, post-war. We just picked one, and we can throw out this challenge. I'm going to start, first of all, with my strength. Here's my outfield. Stan Musial in the outfield. Al Szymański, Al Simmons in the outfield. Carl Yastrzemski is my other outfield. Now, that's not too bad for starters, is it? I'm going to go into my infield. We had to put Kluszewski at first. Whitey Karowski, pretty good player at third base. Bill Mazeroski, one of the best of all time at second base. We couldn't find a shortstop, so I had to put myself.
So you put yourself.
I had to. That's the weak link in the whole thing. Give you my pitching staff and my catcher in just a moment.
While you're at it, let's see what you do here with this all-star inning.
All right. Ronnie Santo to face Gary Nolan. Santo will be followed by Pepitone and then Hickman. Fly ball to center field. Bobby Tolan camps under it. He's got it for out number 1. 2-2 to score. The top of the 6th inning with 1 down. Brings up Pepitone. Now, you've got my 8 players on the field except for the catcher. Now, the catching was a tough position for me, Kurt. Got a few that I throw out. Carl Sawatsky, Bob Sadowski, or Jerry Tuschinski. How's that? Three catchers?
No comment.
Let me hear this pitching staff. Pepitone takes a called strike. But pitchers are pretty good. Stan Kowaleski in the Hall of Fame. Won 3 ball games 1 year in the World Series. Left-hander relief pitcher, Paranowski. Pepitone grounds it just out of the reach of Joe Morgan for a base hit. So Pepitone's on with 1 out here in the top of the 6th inning. Paranowski, left-handed relief pitcher. Mo Drabowski, my right-handed relief pitcher. It's a pretty good team. We'll challenge anybody.
Excellent.
What an outfield.
Give me that outfield again.
Simmons, Yastrzemski, and Musial.
That's a great outfield. Fielding, hitting, all around. That's the team Mr. Nixon, Tony Kubek is challenging you with.
Brings up Jim Hickman here in this 2-2 ball game from Cincinnati. Double play and home run. We've got to be able to pick our own umpire in that game, too, if there is a game. Bill Jakowski's coming out of retirement. Foul back. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 down. Jim Hickman facing Gary Nolan. Pepe on first base. One and 1 pitch. Ground ball. Concepcion to Morgan. Over to Perez. He's all right at first base. 2 down in the top of the 6th. I'll bring up Paul Popovich. Today before our ball game, you were scheduled to see Wimbledon tennis. The men's singles were rained out today. Will be aired tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Wimbledon men's singles tennis. Paul Popovich with 2 outs. Facing Gary Nolan. Pepitone on first base. Line drive left field, almost in the tracks of Pete Rose. He's got it for the 3rd out. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 man left on base. And so in the middle of the 6th inning of play, the score, Chicago 2, Cincinnati 2.
Are your household and personal effects exempt from customs duty when you return stateside? Yes. But remember that all other merchandise purchased overseas, except certain gifts, is subject to import requirements. So, before you ship back, thoroughly check out customs regs.
Don Kessinger on your screen, and too often in baseball, defensive statistics are overlooked. Kessinger, one of the fine defensive shortstops in baseball with great range, has led National League shortstops in assists 4 times in the last 6 seasons. Ronnie Santo at third base, also a fine defensive player. Last of the 6th inning, Rick Russo. First pitch to Foster. Foster lofts it to center field. Rick Monday under it. He's got it for out number 1. Brings up Dennis Menke. 2-2 ball game. Rick Russo on the mound for the Cubs versus Gary Nolan. Menke 0 for 2 in the ball game. Menke takes the breaking ball for a strike. Russo been pitching a fine ball game. He was rattled somewhat when Cincinnati got their fleet-footed runners on base. Menke takes it outside, 1-1. Cincinnati with 4 stolen bases already in the ball game. Two balls, 1 strike. Russo at 6'3", 230 pounds, as we watch him in slow motion, hides the ball well from the hitter. Good push-off, good fastball. It's going to be a good one. 2 ball, 2 strike count to Dennis Menke. 1 down, 2-2 ball game. Last of the 6th. Menke grounds it. Santo in hard. Short hops it. Fine play by Ronnie Santo as he gets Menke at first base. Ron Santo, there's Kessinger starting to his right. He's led National League third baseman in total chances accepted in 9 different seasons, and that's a major league record, and you just saw why. 2 down. Dave Concepcion. Good breaking ball by Russo. Cincinnati scored in the first one. Rose single. Stowe second. Was driven home by Johnny Bench. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cincinnati scored again in the 4th when Foster singled up the middle. Stowe second base. Gary Nolan drove him home. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cubs runs came in the 4th inning when Hickman hit a home run. Then another run in the 5th when Hundley doubled, was driven home by Don Kessinger with a single. So it stands at 2-2 with 2 outs. 2 balls and 2 strikes outside. Dave Concepcion facing Rick Russo. Ground ball. Santo has it again. Over to Pepe for the 3rd out. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on base. And so after 6 complete innings of play here from Cincinnati, the score, the Reds 2, the Cubs 2. Now going into the 7th inning of play, and Kurt, here we see a view of all those Chicago Cub fans for this weekend series here in Cincinnati.
Yes, they came down from Chicago, hundreds of them, to follow the Cubs. They saw their team win 2-1 last night. Right now they're tied up 2-2 as we head to the top of the 7th. Randy Hundley leading off for Chicago has walked and doubled. He'll be followed by the pitcher Ruschel, and then to the top of the order for Rick Mundy. 2 runs, 7 hits for the Cubs, 2 runs, 6 hits for the Reds. A ball delivered by Gary Nolan. Nolan with 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. Foul ball, 1-1.
And now home plate umpire Mel Steiner was looking down to his first base umpire, Jerry Dale, to get a ruling. Menke came in from third base and yelled and said that he thought Hundley was hit when he was out of the batter's box. But he wasn't. He was still in the box when he was hit by that ball.
Let's take a look at the shortstop. Right now, Concepcion is playing the deepest shortstop we have seen all year. Look where he is against Hundley. Knowing he can't run too well on the bad knee, and Hundley can hit with power to the left side. 2-1. He's almost playing a shallow left field. This is the way they used to play for Ernie Lombardi here when he hit for the Reds. 2-2 to Randy Hundley.
You have to have a relatively slow base runner to be able to do that, who hits the ball well, and also have an exceptionally strong arm, as Concepcion does. You can gun these runners out from deep in that hole.
Nolan runs the count, 3-2 to Hundley. Nolan's been coming with his fastball to Hundley. Again, and strikes him out. 3rd strikeout for Nolan. Took a little bit off of it that time. Rick Ruschel, the Cub pitcher, is fouled out and struck out. Well, the Reds have looked at a couple of pretty good young pitchers the last 2 days. 22-year-old Bert Hooton beat them last night, and 23-year-old Rick Ruschel is giving them all they want today. Pop up to the right side, second baseman Joe Morgan. 2 away. Top of the order now, and Rick Mundy, who struck out, out to the pitcher, grounded to second.
Nolan now appears to have altered his pitching pattern a little bit, Kurt. Early in the ball game, we made point of the fact that he was going to a lot of straight change-ups and also straight change. He established that pitch, the changeup, got it over the plate. Now he's gone more to his fastball.
Curve is for a ball to Mundy. 2 outs, bases empty. And this game tied 2-2 in the top of the 7th. 1-1 count. We have a real human interest story taking place right now in Chicago. Strike 2. John Hiller, who had a heart attack in 1970, evidently has been reactivated today. Went in the 4th inning for the Detroit Tigers and shut out the White Sox in that inning. Coming back from a heart attack, and a severe heart attack that nearly cost him his life in 1970. He's back pitching in the major leagues this afternoon. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2 outs for the Cubs with the bases empty in the 7th. Struck him out with a fastball. Cubs go 1-2-3. And now, while the Red fans take their 7th inning stretch, we're still in a tie game, 2-2. Hamilton, Indiana, thank you so much. And this is Kurt and Tony back with you. Terrific Tony in the last of the 7th. As Gary Nolan. who has grounded out, singled in a run, pitched a superb game today. Faces his mound opponent, Rick Ruschel, who gets the pitch in for a strike. And the Cubs have come up with a couple of tremendous young starters now. They have a elderly team in some spots. Ball one, and they're going to have to start rebuilding in spots. And what better way to rebuild than with the pitching staff with a couple of kid pitchers? There's a base hit to left field. Nolan has his second hit.
Now's the time as an infielder with a 2-2 ball game late in the game where a hitter like Joe Morgan can drive you up a wall. You know he's a good bunter, yet you know you can slap it by him, or he can slap it by you if you charge too quickly. See now if we can watch that oddity of Joe Morgan with that left elbow and whether or not he's going to bunt too.
A ball to him. Nolan on first base. Joe Morgan's had 2 hits in 3 times. He's batting .275. They're playing Morgan about 2 steps to right with a third baseman in shallow. And he hits a high fly in the left field. Billy Williams got a late start and moves in easily for it. 1 away. Nolan holding at first. Pete Rose, a single, walk, bounced out. The Cubs have a double-barrel bullpen activity going. Phoebus, a right-hander, McGinn, a left-hander. That's Larry Jansen in back of them, the pitching coach. He also is a fellow that's had a heart attack and come back. Not as a pitcher, but of course, as a coach. You notice everybody I see has had a heart attack, how slim they are. Take that weight off and keep it off. Pete Rose up, 1 hit in 2 times. Ball 1 to Rose. This game is tied 2-2 in the last of the 7. Rose has been on that all-star team 5 times. Bench 4, Perez 4, and Menke twice of the red lineup today. A ball we'll ever forget. Pete Rose crashing into the plate in the 12th inning to the American League catcher Ray Fosse to win the all-star game here a couple of years ago.
Talk about playing with reckless abandon. Rose will remind you of another player. Throwback to the olden days of baseball, although not so long ago, and that was Jim Rivera. And he's with those White Sox with the head-first slides and the diving catches.
Jungle Jim. Ball 3 to Rose. Nolan at first, 1 out. Out to strike, 3-1. Another term is used in that, the old automatic. Nothing's automatic in baseball. It isn't just an automatic strike for a pitcher behind 3-0 to get it in. Many times he wants to, but he can't. 3-1 pitch. Foul ball into the seats, 3-2. Richie Allen just hit his 17th homer of the year in the 5th with 1 on off John Hiller, coming back from a heart attack for the Tigers. And the White Sox take the lead over the Tigers 5-1 at the end of 5.
Both Chicago teams been mired in somewhat of a hitting slump. Chuck Tanner's men haven't been scoring too many runs lately either.
3-2 pitch. He walked him. And the Reds have runners on first and second, 1 out.
Well, Kurt Ruschel so far in the ballgame has had his troubles, especially control troubles with men on base. That's not unusual for a youngster. He gets worried. He doesn't have a good move to hold base runners on, and he starts looking at the base runners instead of the catcher and that hitter. And it's caused probably because a lot of these youngsters coming out of college or out of the minor leagues have such good stuff that they don't pitch with men on base very often, so they have to learn to.
DeRocher and Mr. Cub Ernie Banks. Now remember, Ruschel was injured, had a sprained ankle and back spasms a week ago. Could be some doubt about his durability today. Tie game, 2-2 in the last of the 7th. The Reds have Pete Rose at first base and Gary Nolan at second base, and the batter is Tolan. Bobby's gone hitless in 3 times. Boy, he was wild with that one. When they start missing way out of that strike zone, that's usually a sign they're getting tired.
Start aiming the ball a little bit, not throwing your good fastball, and you lose that rhythm, that motion. Ball starts moving a little bit more out of the strike zone because you're letting up.
2 balls and no strikes to Tolan.
Got a real tough double situation now for the Cubs, something they have not done too well in this year. They have not turned over the double play like they should. Here comes Leo. Something I would imagine that a fellow like Leo DeRocher would have a little bit of difficulty with. Having patience with youngsters and mistakes they might make.
Well, you'd think he'd be mellower now than he would have been maybe 20 years ago.
I say he really stormed out in Atlanta the other day when McLean was pitching against his ball club, Denny coming back from the minor leagues and having good stuff, I understand. And then the game was tied up, and it was called because the ground crew couldn't get the canvas on. And they say Leo just stormed and stormed on and on.
He's decided to lift Ruschel and bring in George McGinn. The left-hander Tolan up. What did I say, George? Dan McGinn. The Ballad of Dan McGinn. We'll see how it all comes out as he moves in to take over with runners on first and second. There's a break in the action here at Riverfront Stadium, Cincinnati. The score is tied 2-2. Dan McGinn has had 4 saves and an earned run average of 4.05 for the Cubs. Waiting for Gary Nolan to get back on second base. He had gone to the dugout while McGinn came in. They have a little Dixieland Riverfront jazz here at Cincinnati.
Heard after just our fans just having seen the promo baseball puts out on drug abuse, I was talking to Pappas today, and he said that there were 5 members of the Chicago Cubs who've just received presidential citations for their work on the president's drug abuse program. Ernie Banks is one, Billy Williams, Jim Hickman, Don Kessinger, and of course Milt Pappas.
All right, Bobby Tolan up with a count, 2 balls and no strikes. Dan McGinn's pitch. Tolan hits it to second. They have 1. Couldn't get that double play. In fact, Popovich very carefully took that ball out of his glove and threw it over there as if he thought there were 2 down.
Played it, as you'll see, very nonchalantly and played it very safe. He just felt, I guess, the ball wasn't hit hard enough to get the fleet-footed Tolan. Of course, with Rose coming down very hard, getting a good lead with men on first and second, bearing down on Kessinger. Look at Rose. There's an illegal slide, folks. Not too often called by the umpire. He went for the man making the pivot and not the base.
That is illegal. Now, DeRocher's coming back out, is going to bring the right-hander on to pitch the bench. Bench can be murderous against left-handers. So McGinn did his job. He came in and got the left-handed batter out, and now DeRocher, who has managed 3 pennant winners, brings him Tom Phoebus to pitch the bench here in the last of the 7th with the game tied 2-2.
This is one thing that Leo Durocher has improved his club considerably upon, and that is the bullpen. The last few years, he hasn't gone to his bullpen as frequently nor as quickly, but with Phoebus down there, McGinn, Steve Hamilton, Pizarro at times, he has a little more confidence in the men coming in the late innings.
Tom Phoebus will pitch to Johnny Bench with runners on first and third, 2 out.
I recall in a game of the week a few years ago, Phoebus, when he was a starter with the Orioles, pitched a brilliant no-hitter in front of a national TV audience. Since then, he's become a bullpen pitcher, although he did just recently start a ball game.
Phoebus is making his 21st appearance. He's won 2, lost 3. Secured from San Diego by the Cubs shortly after the 1972 season started. He's 28 years old. He was formerly with the Baltimore Orioles. There goes Nolan back into the dugout again and coming out.
Bench ever come up without men on base?
Well, he came up in the first inning with Pete Rose on second and drove him home. He came up with runners on second and third. In the third, received an intentional walk. He walked in the fifth. So he's 1 for 1 officially with 1 RBI. Game is tied 2-2 in the last half of 7th. A breaking ball for a strike. In our pregame show, we showed you Joe Nuxall, who was the youngest player to ever perform in the big leagues, 15 years, 10 months old when he signed the Cincinnati contract. Tom Phoebus was 15 years old. He turned down a pro contract offered by the Washington Senators. Foul back by Bench, a strike 2. And he signed 3 years later with the Orioles. But he probably would have been sent out. 2 strikes. To Johnny Bench, 2 out, runners on first and third. They're playing deep in the infield for Bench. He's not a fast man. He hits a line drive in the center. It's a base hit. In comes Nolan to score. Over to third goes Tolan. And Rick Mundy nearly let that ball bounce over his head. Johnny Bench has driven in 2 of the 3 Cincinnati runs.
What a first half of the season this young man is having. Johnny Bench, and it seems, Kurt, when you talk about Bench, that he's been around for 10 or 12 years. He has already done so much. Another clutch base hit for Bench to drive in that go-ahead run.
He may get a shot again of this ball hit into center field by Bench. This one nearly bounces over Mundy's head, Tony. He hits a line drive in the center. It's a base hit. Here's Tony Perez up. Struck out, lined out, hit into a double play. Ball to him. Cincinnati ahead now 3-2 in the last of the 7th. Tolan at third, Bench at first. Foul back. Ron Santo is playing deep at third, and watch Tolan walk up the line and get a good lead. Meanwhile, Jack Akers going down to start warming up for the Cubs. And Tom Hall is starting to loosen up for the Reds. There's the ball hit to Sano, back of the bag, fair. His throws on the button. They're out, but the Reds took the lead with 1 run. 2 hits, no errors, 2 left. At the end of 7, it's Cincinnati 3, Chicago 2. All right, Gary Nolan is working with a one-run lead in the 8th inning. He's trying to become the first National League pitcher to win 12 games. Seaver's won 11. Carlton has won 11. Nolan 11. Sutton and Jenkins have each won 10. And in the American League, Mickey Lolich and Gaylord Perry have each won 13. Wilbur Wood has won 12. And Nolan not only been using his arm today, but his bat. He's had 2 hits, he's driven in a run, and he scored a run. Our first final score in, Cleveland beat Kansas City 2-1. Kilkenny the winner, Nelson the loser. And we have in the bullpen Clay Carroll and Tom Hall for Cincinnati. Well, I was reading that score. All right, it's Kessinger leading off for the Cubs, and it's a strike to him. Kessinger has 2 hits and 3 times. He's driven in one of the 2 Cub runs. Foul ball, it's strike 2.
And we'll see, as we've pointed out to you many times before in our game of the week, that late in the ball game, in a close game, how this third and first baseman protect the lines. Perez, 1.5 steps away at first. Menke shading it toward third base.
There's a drive into left center. Hustling over to cut it off is Tolan, and Kessinger's on with a tying run.
It's only the great speed of Tolan that prevented that from going all the way to the fence. It was right in the hole, hit very sharply, but Tolan got over very quickly to cut it off and save an extra base hit.
That's Kessinger's 3rd hit. Here's Billy Williams. 3 times he's flied to the outfield.
Underrated ball player, just look at that statistic. Billy Williams, Sweet William, what a swing.
Three to 2, the Reds ahead of the 8th inning. The Cubs have the tying run on. Williams hits a high drive down the right field line and just foul, or the Chicago Cubs were in the lead.
Here comes Sparky Anderson out to talk to his pitcher Nolan to ask him if he's tiring. Sparky Anderson. You got Clay Carroll and Tommy Hall throwing in his bullpen. They should be ready. And he didn't like that last pitch to Billy Williams.
He's not messing around. He's going to bring Tom Hall on, the left-hander.
Oftentimes you wonder what a pitcher's thinking about when he's coming in from the bullpen. Let's hear the voice of Tom Hall as to what he is thinking now.
Well, you're thinking of the situation, you know, when you come in, you know, you try to come in and get a ground ball to somebody, try to get them to hit into a double play if it's that situation. Or then, too, if you're not having too good of stuff in the bullpen, it always goes through your mind you're going to have better stuff when you get out there on the mound.
Well, he had good stuff last night. He struck out the side to come into the ballgame yesterday. There's a break in the action here at Riverfront Stadium, Cincinnati. The score, the Cincinnati Reds 3, the Chicago Cubs 2. Tom Hall now on to pitch for Cincinnati. 5 saves. Pretty good trade made by Bob Housen and the Reds. Tom Hall for Wayne Granger. Went to the Minnesota Twins.
Yes, he has the best strikeout rate in the National League. He has struck out 74 batters in 61 innings. Anytime you strike out more men than innings pitched, you've got some stuff. You'll see he's very slender. He is 6 feet tall and weighs just 155 pounds. 24 years old, Tom Hall. Facing Billy Williams with a 1-strike count. 1-1 to Williams. Kessinger at first, nobody out.
Let's watch Billy Williams swing again on that long foul ball. Keeps his head down. Look at the extension of those arms right at impact. That great follow-through. Open those hips to get him out of the way.
There's a lash into high, deep center and back on the warning track. Right on the edge of it is Tolan. Kessinger scampered to second and went back to first. Williams got under that one just a little bit too much.
Kurt, there's something that I really don't understand. Sparky Anderson coming out again. In last night's ball game, the Cubs did not tag up in situations like this. Now, I'm not saying that Kessinger could have made it to second base, but the ball was hit deep to right center field. Big league outfielders don't drop fly balls. You want to tag up and force the man to make a long throw. He may throw a while, and you can keep on going and get in scoring position.
Well, both managers really playing the percent. DeRocher brought in a left-hander to face left-hander Tolan in the last of the seventh. Then brought in a right-hander against a right-hander. Here comes Clay Carroll in now to pitch to right-handed batter Sano after the left-hander pitched to only one man, Billy Williams. What's Clay Carroll got on his mind?
Tony, when I come in, the bases are loaded, or a couple of guys on base, a time run, or a go-ahead run's on, so all I got on my mind is get that ball down and try to get them to hit into a double play ball.
Super Hawk, is that what Sparky called him? He swoops down on you late in the ball game with that good sinker and good slider?
Super Hawk. Well, he's going to face Sano and then Pepitone in the top of the eighth inning with the Reds ahead 3-2. Now we're starting to get all kinds of moves by the two managers. Clay Carroll leads the National League in games. This is his 32nd game. He's already had 16 saves, 4 wins, 1 loss, an earned run average of 1.54, and he's 31 years old.
Carroll, like so many relief pitchers, loves to get in a lot of work. He likes to pitch. He can go 6-7 days in a row pitching an inning here, an inning there, and he loves it. Feels his control is better. He feels stronger, more confident.
Ron Sano, hitless in 3 times. They're deep and a shade toward left for him. With 1 out, Kessinger at first. The Cubs trailing by 1 here in the 8th. Low and away, a ball. Big chopper. May be tough. No, Carroll's over with it. 2 down. Kessinger moves to second. And Joe Pepitone with a single to left. He's flying to right, and he's single to right. 2 out of 3.
Talk about a catcher being a field general or a quarterback in baseball. Johnny Bench just now moving his infielders back. Moved Morgan way back and said, hey, knock it down. We'll let that runner score.
Buzzes by Pepitone's chin for a ball. 3-2 Cincinnati, 8th inning. Kessinger at second, 2 down for the Cubs. Right out to Joe Morgan playing deep. He's got the play over to first, and Carroll comes in and shuts him out. No runs, a hit, no errors, 1 left. We're going to the last of the 8th inning. It's still Cincinnati 3, Chicago 2.
To communicate well, you need sharp sight, keen hearing, muscular coordination, and a working knowledge of your language. All controlled by clear thinking.
Davis drops the curve in for a strike to Foster, who's had 1 hit in 3 times. Foul away. No balls, 2 strikes to Foster.
Well, Kurt, Foster is playing at a position today, right field, in which Sparky Anderson has done a lot of maneuvering this year. He's already used 5 men, different stages. Foster today, Geronimo at one time, Haig, Hal McRae, Ted Eulander. Plays them just enough ball games when their bat's hot and then takes them out when they cool down.
He struck Foster out in 3 pitches. Every club seems to have a vital spot, and the Reds has been right field this year. It's the old saying, nobody's perfect. Dennis Menke hitless in 3 times. You're looking ahead to the Cubs' 9th. They'll have Hickman, Popovich, and Hundley up. Solid base hit to left by Dennis Menke. Base hit number 9 by Cincinnati. Chicago has 8. Concepcion is hitless in 3 times. And Jack Aker and Steve Hamilton are going to start warming up for the Cubs. A ball to Concepcion. Davis behind him 2-0. Hamilton, the left-hander, Aker, the right-hander. Three and nothing to Concepcion. Hitter take. Take. 3-1. Again, he looks down. One of those means something. Secret language of baseball.
A lot of the coaches will use an indicator to show that a sign is out. It might be just touching the cap.
He walked him. Runners on first and second for the Reds. 1 out. The pitcher, Clay Carroll, coming up.
If you ever had a ball game and you're peering down at that third base coach, you give you a simple pattern of signs that some clubs use, and they get more complicated than this. They'll give you an indicator. Maybe it's touching the bill of the cap. Then you know something's on. Be alert. And they may give you the bunt, which may be touching the skin. Now you know you've got the bunt. And they may take it off completely. They maybe rub across their chest, and that removes everything, and you start all over again.
This conference around the mound was about a possible bunt play with the pitcher Carroll up. Runners on first and second, 1 out, and Cincinnati leading 3-2. Everybody getting things straightened out among them, what they're going to do. Sano's in shallow at third. The third shortstop's going over to cover third. Look at him over there, Kessinger. He's standing on the bag right now. There he is. That's Sano going back. And in back of him, you see the shortstop. There he goes. He was over to cover third base, Kessinger.
It's a play you can use as a surprise. Leo DeRocher likes to use. You use it about 1 time with a slow runner on second base. Shortstop will bluff that runner back and then take off. Feel that if that hitter bunts the ball in the direction he's supposed to, third base, the third baseman can feel it, whirl, and get the runner out at third. Once you've pulled it, usually the surprise is gone. It's difficult to pull again.
1 strike to Clay Carroll. He bunts. They're going to go to third with it. It's in time. Back to first? No. They knocked down the front man, though, Menke. So that makes it 2 down. You know, as we looked out on the field, I thought something was missing out there. And now, finally hit my eyes. Tony looked out there also. We're missing one of the umpires. I think it's
Jerry Dale, I believe. Shag Crawford is still at second base, it looks like. And he actually moved from his second base spot to call the play at first. We don't know what has happened. The first base umpire, Jerry Dale, but he's not on the field. We'll see if we can get a report on that. I don't know.
Well, DeRocher playing the percent again will bring left-hander Steve Hamilton on to pitch to left-handed batter Joe Morgan. The wheels are turning. And we're working right now with 3 umpires in this game.
Of an old teammate, one of the toughest pitchers I've ever seen in getting out left-handed hitters. And Hamilton comes from the side at 6'5", a former basketball player at Morehead State Teachers College in Kentucky. When he comes from the side with that sweeping curveball, you bail out and it's over the outside corner of the plate. He's tough. He also used to throw one time when he was in the American League, what do you call it, the folly floater with a blooper pitch, and then it was outlawed when he came over to the National League by now National League President Chuck Feeney.
Hamilton making his 11th appearance. He's only pitched 7 2/3 innings this year. No wins, no losses. 2 outs. Concepcion's on second. Clay Carroll's on first. The Reds are leading 3-2, batting in the last of the 8th inning. NBC's game of the week.
Look at Hamilton in slow motion in his warm-ups. All you see is elbows, arms, gloves coming at you. He strides, it looks like, about halfway to home plate, and the ball's on you very quickly in a very deceptive motion by Hamilton.
Joe Morgan with 2 hits and 4 times. Concepcion at second, Clay Carroll at first. Pepitone playing off the bag at first. Carroll can get a good lead. Strike 1 to Joe Morgan. There they are. You can see them get their leads. Curved him and missed. A ball and a strike.
Look again and look at that left elbow of Joe Morgan. He pumps it up and down, trying to free it from his body. And the more critical the situation is now, the faster it goes.
Curve outside, 2-1. Sort of flaps it, doesn't he? Like a chicken wing.
Told me that Nellie Fox, when Fox was a coach with Houston, found out in watching Joe hit that he hit better with his left elbow away from his body. As soon as he got it crowded too close to his left side, wouldn't be able to swing as quickly. So Nellie said, hey, get that left elbow away from it. There it goes.
Foul back. 2-2. I expect him to take off and fly right over the infield. Shag Crawford out of the game was overcome by heat. He's all right. Not seriously ill, but just didn't feel right. Three and 2 count. 2 down, runners on first and second. They'll be going. Bases are loaded. And switch hitter Pete Rose coming up. Now the first base umpire, Jerry Dale, has to go over, and he'll cover both first and second. Takes his position halfway between first and second.
Of course, this is a very tough thing for an umpire to do, Kurt, because they usually strive for great position so they can see the ball, the runner.
A strike with a fastball to Rose. Rose has had 1 hit in 2 times. He's walked twice. The Reds leading 3-2, have the bases loaded, 2 down in the last of the 8th inning. Ball 1, strike 1. Sharply to short. They've got him at second on the forced out. Kessinger to Popovich. No runs, 1 hit. There were no errors. 3 left. At the end of 8, 3-2 Cincinnati. Jim Hickman starts it off for the Cubs, their last chance of the 9th inning. Hickman's hit a home run in 3 times. That homer came in the 4th. Clay Carroll trying to save it for Gary Nolan. A ball to Hickman. He'll be followed by Popovich and then Hundley. It's a high fly. The center fielder, Tolan. 1 down. Popovich has tripled in 3 times. So the Cubs have 2 outs left. They're behind 3-2. Here's the final from Shea Stadium. The Mets beat the Dodgers 4-1. McAndrew the winner, his 6th win. Mickelson the loser. Strike 1 to Popovich. Curve, bounce to the right side. They'll have to make the play to the pitcher covering Carroll. It's in time and they're 2 down. Randy Hundley has walked, doubled, and struck out. The last hope for the Cubs. Alan Ross, our statistician today, been a wrathful fellow. Tom McDonough has been our stage manager. A strike. Hundley has walked, doubled, and struck out. Gets it off the end of the bat, foul. He's behind in the count, strike 2. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 away. 3-2 Cincinnati. Took him out to end the ball game. The Reds win it 3-2, and Gary Nolan becomes the first National League pitcher to win 12 games. Another save, number 17 for Clay Carroll. And Johnny Bench drove in 2 runs and drove in the deciding run in the 7th with a single. 3 runs, 9 hits, no errors for Cincinnati. 2 runs, 8 hits, no errors for Chicago. Curt Gowdy and Tony Kubek, thank you for looking on.